Welcome back to the deep dive. So we got this interesting set of sources you sent over, and they really zero in on something I think a lot of language learners feel, right? That gap between knowing the words and actually speaking.
Yeah, that frustration is really common.
So our mission today is to kind of dig into that, cut through the noise, and see what clear path these sources lay out to bridge that gap.
Exactly. We're looking closely at this method outlined in Talk English Daily, and it's fascinating because it sort of flips the usual way of thinking.
How so?
Well, it treats fluency less like, something you study for in a classroom, passing tests on grammar,
Right.
and more like a practical skill, something you build just by doing it every day. The focus is really hard on using the language, not just collecting more knowledge about it.
Okay, usage over acquisition. I like
Yeah.
that. So we're aiming to pull out the three key pieces.
That's the plan. First, the basic idea, the philosophy behind what fluency even is, according to this approach. Second, the really practical stuff, the actual conversation examples they give you to practice daily.
A toolkit.
Exactly. And third, the mindset piece, how to actually build the confidence to speak.
Right, because that's often the biggest hurdle.
It really is. So let's start with that core idea because everything else kind of flows from it.
Okay.
The central argument, and it might sound a bit backwards at first, is that fluency isn't really about how much English you know. It's much more about how often you actually speak it.
Okay, see, that's the counterintuitive part you mentioned.
Yeah.
Because you see learners, right? They study for years, they know tons of vocab, complex grammar,
Absolutely. They can ace the tests.
but then ask them to chat spontaneously.
Yeah.
They freeze up. The sources say it's because they haven't made speaking a daily thing.
Precisely. The knowledge is, well, it's in there somewhere, but the pathways aren't built. They haven't trained their mouth, their brain's reaction time, their confidence muscle, you could say.
Confidence muscle, I like that.
Yeah, and the method is really clear. You have to speak daily, even just 5 minutes. That's what moves the knowledge from, storage into active use.
So it reframes the challenge. It's not gather more info, it's do more reps, like going to the gym for your mouth.
That's a great way to put it. You've got the equipment, now you need the workout.
Okay.
And that leads into this analogy they use in the material, which I thought was quite memorable.
Oh, yeah.
They compare speaking English daily to brushing your teeth.
Brushing your teeth. Okay, explain.
Well, it's small, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't take much time or effort, ideally, but you do it consistently every day. And that small, consistent habit keeps your teeth, healthy and strong, prevents problems later.
Ah, so the daily English practice, it keeps the language clean and strong, prevents it from getting rusty.
Exactly. It's the consistency, not necessarily how long you do it each time. That's the key. 5 focused minutes is better than cramming for 2 hours once a week.
Okay, that daily consistency principle makes sense. So once you accept that small daily application is the goal. Where do you start? You mentioned a toolkit.
Right. So the sources provide these practical conversation scripts. They're designed to be, simple, natural-sounding dialogues, things you can actually use as models for that daily practice.
And the idea isn't complex sentences.
Not at all. It's about giving you easy-to-remember, low-effort scripts for really common situations. It targets what linguists sometimes call communicative competence, basically just being able to function socially. And a lot of that relies on these kind of predictable exchanges.
Got it. So let's look at the first set they provide. It's called Morning Routine at Home.
Yeah, this is about those first interactions of the day. Short, simple exchanges with family or roommates, just getting the language circuits firing first thing.
What kind of phrases are we talking about?
Very basic stuff, really. Things focused on just connecting, not deep conversation, like, did you sleep well? Which is just polite and friendly. Or something natural like, I'm still a little sleepy, showing how you feel.
Right, relatable.
And even just expressing a need, like, I need some energy. The point here isn't complex grammar. It's using simple language with a bit of emotion, naturally, getting comfortable with that rhythm.
Okay, so expressing immediate feelings, connecting briefly, then moving out of the house. The second set is at work or school.
Right, a slightly more structured setting. Here, the focus shifts a bit towards typical small talk and showing interest, things you need in professional or academic life.
Like what?
Well, the model starts with the classic, how's your day going?
Standard.
Yeah. And then a simple, polite kind of response like, not bad, just a bit busy. Easy, low pressure.
And it also includes ways to react to others.
Exactly. So if someone says they finished a big project, the example is something like, you must feel great, showing that connection, that interest. Ah, Okay, so the value here is learning how to keep that brief, friendly chat going. The kind of thing that actually builds relationships at work or school, but can sometimes, trip learners up if they only focus on formal stuff.
That's a really key point. These examples are chosen because they're like the Lego bricks of daily interaction.
Yeah.
If you can handle these short back-and-forth exchanges smoothly, you're building a foundation for more later.
Makes sense. Okay, and the third toolkit, meeting a friend after work.
Yeah, the social catch-up. Here, it's all about casual, friendly chat and making plans.
So things like,
Well, you've got the classic greeting, long time no see, very common, very casual,
right?
followed by the standard check-in, how have you been? Just basic rapport
Yeah,
building.
planning.
Yeah, like making plans for the weekend. And using that essential agreement phrase sounds great.
Okay, so these three situations, home routine, work, school, small talk, and social catch-ups, they cover a lot of daily ground.
They really do. That's why they're good models for that 5-minute practice. They're high frequency, high utility, and focusing on the function of the language in these situations, rather than just grammar rules, seems quite practical.
That's the core of the strategy. It makes it feel more achievable, I think.
Which brings us neatly to the confidence issue.
Yeah.
Because, like we said, so many people understand English well. They read it, they listen,
Yeah.
but speaking, they just freeze.
It's that frustrating disconnect. Yeah.
And the source is really direct about this.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence doesn't just magically appear. It only grows when you speak. Daily.
It's a result of doing it, not a requirement to start doing it. And that freeze up often just boils down to, fear. Fear of mistakes, fear of sounding stupid.
Totally.
So the sources offer 3 very specific tips to tackle that psychological barrier, to kind of lower the stakes and just get you talking.
Okay, let's break them down. Tip number 1,
Yeah.
talk to yourself.
Right. This sounds simple, maybe even a bit silly to some,
Maybe.
but it's super effective because it takes the audience away. No pressure. The suggestion is to just narrate what you're doing out loud. I'm making coffee, I'm walking down the street. It trains your brain to connect the action with the English words automatically. 0 risk.
But, hang on. If you're only talking to yourself, what if you're making mistakes? Aren't you just practicing errors without getting corrected? Does the source mention that?
That's a fair question.
Mhm.
And yes, the source kind of acknowledges that errors will happen, but the argument is basically that in the beginning, the damage done by not talking, by never building that quick response ability, is actually way worse than the risk of making some mistakes.
Okay.
The main goal of the self-talk at first is just forming the habit, getting words out quickly, fluency first. Accuracy can be refined later.
Got it. So it's about overcoming the initial inertia. Okay, that makes sense. What's tip 2?
Record your voice.
Ooh, people hate doing that.
I know, but the source specifically says do it without fear, listen back, not to pick apart your grammar necessarily.
Then why?
It's more about getting used to the sound of your own voice speaking English. Desensitization, really. If you can get comfortable just hearing yourself, that's a big mental block starting to crumble. Makes speaking in front of others less daunting later on.
Okay, normalizing the sound of your own English voice. I can see that. And tip 3.
This one is all about keeping going. Celebrate small wins.
How do they define small wins?
Very simply, the source literally says, even saying 1 sentence in English today means progress.
Wow, okay. That's setting the bar really low, in a good way.
Exactly. It makes it feel possible. It reinforces that daily consistency idea. Don't get hung up on being perfect. Just focus on doing something each day.
So if we pull all this together, the philosophy, the practical tools, the confidence tips, what's the big takeaway message from this deep dive?
I think it comes back to that final statement in the material, which really sums it up. Confidence isn't a gift, it's a habit.
Right. It's something you build, not something you're born with or wait for.
Precisely. So we've looked at this method that's all about speaking frequency. We've seen the kinds of simple daily conversations you can use for practice. And we've got these 3 concrete habits for tackling the fear and building that confidence muscle.
And the key for you, the listener, seems to be shifting focus. Stop worrying so much about learning more words and start actively using the words you already have, even just 5 minutes a day.
Because, as the sources suggest, the more you talk, the more natural it feels, the easier it gets, and the more confident you become. It's a positive cycle.
Yeah.
So if we accept this idea that confidence comes from consistent use, from simplifying things down to just talking, it raises an interesting final thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
What's the one specific thing, maybe a complex grammar rule you learned, or some piece of formal knowledge you're always trying to get right that you need to consciously decide to? will maybe forget about for a while, or at least simplify it drastically.
What rule is actually getting in the way?
Exactly. What piece of knowledge is stopping you from just doing those 5 minutes of talking today? Identify that block, simplify your goal.
And just start talking. Keep learning, keep growing, one conversation at a time. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.